This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Okay, it's another viewer request video today because the other day I received this email.
Hi John, any chance you can do a video on what discoveries you made that had a big impact when you were learning the guitar? Call them lightbulb moments because it's like when you have a bulb go on over your head and suddenly you understand. Many thanks, Paul.
So, lightbulb moments, is it? Okay, well, what I've done here is I've cobbled together a list of what I, in retrospect, with the benefit of hindsight, would say are the 5 most important breakthroughs I made early on in my journey as a guitar player, and they include such things as how come breaking strings can be a good thing, how Adam Ant sort of taught me how to play lead guitar, what important relationship I noticed when I noticed the similarity between an AC/DC lick and a traditional Celtic tune, how Eddie Cochran, posthumously of course, taught me all about diatonic key theory, and how an iconic guitar solo from the pantheon of classic rock taught me how come sometimes the wrong note is the better note or the right note to use. Here it all is.
Want to learn the neck? Break some strings.
Okay, I guess one major light bulb moment for me was, it came bundled in with my first guitar when I got it, because there was an instruction book and a pitch pipe, which I think I used to use to tune this string of the guitar with. And then you basically do the old 5th fret method of the 5th fret on this string gives you the next string, and 5th fret on that string gives you the next one, 5th fret on that string gives you the next string, 4th fret on this one gives you the next one, and the 5th fret on this one gives you this one. And what that meant was that if I broke this string, which I often would, because I had a horrible guitar that used to chew through strings, it would mean that any note that I needed in any little riff or melody or lick that I was playing that included that top E string, it didn't mean I couldn't play that lick anymore, just meant I had to go here for the note instead. Case in point would have been this little ditty that was one of the first lead guitar parts I ever learned. And then, twang, this string suddenly snaps. So now I'm thinking, well, okay. And then suddenly that seems like a long way to travel to get those extra notes. So can I move these notes closer to where these are? Or this? Or even this? So even if I've snapped 3 of the 6 strings, which wasn't unheard of, it still wasn't going to stop me from playing the licks that I wanted to play. I could still get my guitar fix by just figuring out mathematically, using that tuning ratio that, as I say, came in my first ever little guitar instructional book that enabled me to figure out where notes repeated along the neck. So that's the light bulb moment that helped me figure out the fretboard, basically.
How an Adam Ant song taught me to play lead.
Yeah, now this, there seemed to be a lot of big hit songs in the early 80s when I was a fledgling guitar player that were based around this open position pentatonic shape. I didn't think of it as a pentatonic shape at the time. I just knew that it was some notes that sounded good and you could make up a lot of, popular tunes with them. I mean, there was this one by Adam and the Ants. Like that. And then there was, I guess, another big track at the time would have been that, okay? Again, taking those same notes or part of them. And I seem to remember there was a bit of a rock and roll kind of 50s nostalgia phase going on at the time, and I'm sure this was re-released. It was certainly on the radio a lot. And, you know, all of these things seem to be, you know, based around that little pattern, as long as they were in E minor, because, you know, E minor was the common thread running through all of those. Eventually I figured out that you could, you know, kind of move it up the neck like a bar chord. Same shape to get like F sharp minor or G minor or whatever. And that was, again, that I didn't know I was learning a pentatonic scale, but that's effectively what I was doing. And then you go back to that broken string note relocation thing again. If I wanted to play that, and then suddenly this top E string here was missing, then, you know, by this time I'd got pretty slick at figuring, or like that, or wherever it was.
Auld Lang Syne is based on AC/DC. Or is it the other way around?
Okay, yeah, so we've looked at that pentatonic thing, and as I said, all of the tunes that seem to be, or the majority of them that seem to be based around that shape, were very much centred around an E minor feel. Until one Christmas I was noodling around and came up with and it struck me that is the same notes as that Johnny Kid and the Pirates, or, you know, kind of AC/DC kind of thing, but it doesn't sound like kind of E minor in, you know, in its kind of identity. It sounds more like it's based on a G chord. And those are the chords for Auld Lang Syne, and that melody, etc., fit over the top of that. It fit like a glove. So that taught me that the notes that work in E minor, and, you know, another one that I kind of remember learning around about that time as well, that one, those E minor friendly notes also work pretty good with G major. I discovered the idea of the minor and relative major, and as I said earlier, by this point I'd already figured out that I could, you know, kind of move that shape up the neck like a bar chord. So when it gets to here, I know that's an F sharp, so this is an F sharp minor. And if E minor is the same as G major, then F sharp minor is the same as A major. And big revelation that kind of helped me be able to play lead guitar in any key, you know, major or minor.
The Eddie Cochran trick.
Okay, as I said, round about the time I was, you know, a young fledgling guitar player, there was a big sort of 50s rock and roll kind of thing that was big in popular culture. You know, you look at the movies at the time like Grease and TV shows like Happy Days, and you just look at the top 40, it was full of bands like Shawaddy Waddy and Shanana, and a band who no one seems to remember nowadays, but I still love them, a band called The Darts. It was all that 50s rock and roll revival. So there was lots of, you know, kind of rock and roll stuff going on, including this was getting a lot of radio airplay at the time. Of course, Summertime Blues, and Eddie Cochran seemed to be having a bit of a resurgence, you know, posthumously, obviously, and like another one of his songs. Do you notice anything? It's the same little move. It's in a different key. Summertime Blues is that move there, but move that up to here, and you've got the same kind of thing, but that's 3 Steps to Heaven, and then you got Come On Everybody. Again, the same little move. And it just began to dawn on me that this little move here, these 3 chords, obviously have some kind of special relationship to each other. And what's more, it just kind of tipped over my brain and I thought, right, okay, these are all major chords. I've discovered that every major chord has a kind of minor chord cousin, that major relative minor thing we talked about in the context of the pentatonic a moment ago. So, I wonder what happens if I do that major chord there and then scooch it down and there's its minor, and then this major chord here, and then kind of take that down and do its minor. I'd figured out that basically you go down 3 frets and make it minor, and then this one, and okay, so now I've got and then I can put those into pretty much any order I want, and they always sound good. What I'd discovered was 6 of the 7 chords in a diatonic major key. And that led me on to, kind of being able to write songs, and more importantly, for playing in the covers bands that I was beginning to start playing in, being able to figure out songs much more easily and remember them, because I could remember which chords kind of belonged together in their own little set based upon, the 3 majors and the 3 minors.
Stairway to New Notes.
Okay, a lead guitar solo that one of my elders and betters at school showed me the first couple of licks of, and that kind of made sense to me because it was based on that pentatonic thing, but it seemed to have a wrong note in there. If it was playing in the pentatonic realm, it should have gone like this. But it doesn't land on that note, it lands on that note. Like that. Why is he doing that? Well, you do a bit of head scratching and number crunching and you realise that note there is an F, and then you look at which chord has happened in that solo. At that point, it's an F chord. Oh, okay. So you can add notes into the scale or change the scale depending upon what notes are in the chords. That's interesting. Okay, so it would be a really good idea to start figuring out what notes are in chords. And then, of course, I do it like everybody begins to do it by thinking, well, okay, plod through the chord shape, 1 string at a time until you've figured out what all the notes are. And then my curiosity just took over, and if I thought, well, okay, that's an F, that's a C, that's an F, that's an A, that's a C, and that's another F. There's only 3 different notes in there, F, A, and C. There's an F note there, there's an A note there, there's a C note there, okay? So you take your root note, then you go up 4 frets, then you go up 3 frets, and that's how you figure out what notes are in a major chord, okay? Again, I didn't know at the time that it's a root note, it's a major third and a perfect fifth. I hadn't been introduced to this terminology yet. I just learned it, in a more guitar-orientated way. So that's how I was able to start learning what notes are in chords and then be able to put them into guitar solos. I'd listen for the chord coming up and think, let's try that note that should sound good, and just step outside of the familiar little box pattern like that in order to just kind of add that note in, and wow, it works. So there you go. Those were 5 important light bulb moments, 5 important breakthroughs that I experienced early on in my guitar playing journey, as I said earlier. And I think the thing that really drove me on over and above any of those things was that there was just such a scarcity, such a drought of information back in the late 70s, early 80s when I first started playing. So every little discovery that you made was much more precious. There obviously no internet in those days. You know, there wasn't the wealth of books, or I think I had the Guitar Handbook by Ralph Denyer and used to dip into that occasionally, but I think even that came a little bit later. You know, the nearest shop that would sell you a guitar magazine once every month was, you know, 2 bus rides away from home. So when you figured something like this out, you wanted to kind of really look at it from every angle and examine it and pull at that thread and see where it led to, and kind of really get a deeper understanding of that little thing that you've discovered, which I think perhaps is lacking today when information is so easy to come by. It feels perhaps a little bit less precious and you treasure it a little bit, maybe not as much as back in the old days. Maybe that's just the old fart in me kind of reminiscing about the old days. I don't know, but I happen to think there's a kernel of truth in that. Anyway, folks, that's the video for today. Hope you found it useful, informative and entertaining in some small way. And if you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not give me a like while you're at it? If you're interested in helping the channel and supporting me, then all of the links are down in the description. Thank you so much to everybody who is already doing that, and thank you in advance if you're thinking about doing it. And also thank you all for watching these videos. I enjoy making them, and it's gratifying to see that I have just breached 20,000 subscribers. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm more grateful than I can really express. But for now, that's all I've got for you. Hope you've enjoyed the video, etc, etc. Look after yourselves, folks. Have a great time. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. See you next time. Bye for now.